Welcome. It's another new month, and it's another new monthly discussion with me and my friend Sam. Sam, welcome back.
Hi, good to be back.
So, I know that we have a busy weekend of wrestling ahead with TakeOver last night and Money in the Bank tonight. I mean, I'll start with this, that, I mean, I know I don't normally watch NXT. It's, I'll watch the highlights. It's just, it's sort of like SmackDown that I forget it's on Wednesday. I'm, SmackDown on Tuesday. For how many years it was on at the end of the week. Now it's, 2 years it's been on in the middle of the week, and I still can't get used to it. But I can't be the only one that didn't know that there was gonna be a takeover for Money in the Bank, considering that they usually had them only for the big four, Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, and SummerSlam and Survivor Series. I don't remember the last time they had a takeover not before a big four.
Yeah, it did seem a little strange that they kind of stuck this one where they did.
Yeah.
And I just feel like we're going to probably see the same matches at the next TakeOver.
I mean, from what I'm seeing, looking at, some of the matches, I don't remember the last time I could actually say this, but I feel like the world title match was one of the weaker matches on the card.
Yeah, and I mean, considering it wasn't even the main event, and didn't get barely as enough, the time. It's an interesting, just a little strange, yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, Gargano and Ciampa definitely deserve to go on last, as they are carrying themselves to what will likely be a clean sweep of any feud match, any type of award that could be given to, like that type of thing. I mean, hell, I think Johnny Gargano is making a case for himself to be the wrestler of the year too, or at least in the consideration.
Oh, yeah, definitely. But you don't, as the, NXT champion, want to be outshined by anybody.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I mean, then that begs the question, does, after TakeOver Brooklyn, which I'm assuming will be the trifecta for Gargano and Ciampa, what does that bring with, for either one of them after that? Because I would assume one of them would be feuding with Aleister Black after NXT TakeOver Brooklyn.
Yeah, that's my assumption, and then I think both of them are ready for, the main roster.
Mm-hmm.
I think, no, I mean, I don't want to say the feud has run its course. I mean, you can watch them wrestle 25 times, and it always feels like the first time, but I think you're right. One of them is going to be busy feuding for the title. What is the other one going to do now?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think that one of the, if you look back to last year when Bobby Roode came up, and I think when the Riot Squad came up and Absolution, it was around SummerSlam. So it's possible WWE pulls more people up to the main roster after SummerSlam, which is also after TakeOver Brooklyn.
Yeah, could definitely see more call-ups before the year is over.
But then the question becomes, do you want Gargano and Ciampa on the main roster?
I mean, seeing as how a lot of talented guys have gone from NXT to being wasted on the main roster, it's hard. But I think if you bring them up when they're still hot, I mean, in terms of their feud, I think that would be the thing for either one of them.
Mm-hmm. I mean, don't get me wrong, I think a person like Ricochet could come up, and even though people might say, oh, don't put him in the Cruiserweight division, why not? It'll give him something to do. Plus, since Triple H took over 205 Live, the show has gotten so much better. So it would be a perfect place for Ricochet, because he would still be under the control of Triple H, and he would be able to do exactly what he's best at doing, and that's flying around the ring.
Yeah.
Yes, the Young Bucks in New Japan prove that, the junior heavyweight or the cruiserweight does have a shelf life in that division, but that just means once they hit their shelf life, pull them up to the other division.
Yeah, I think introducing a guy like Ricochet in 205 Live wouldn't be a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like we've said, it's hard for a lot of guys and girls to make that transition from NXT to the main roster. So maybe 205 Live can kind of be the buffer in between.
Yeah, for the guys who fit the division.
Yeah.
I mean, I know the difference between NXT and the main roster is if you win Vince over on the main roster, you're good. If you don't, well, look at the Ascension.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, the fair question is, was it better than New Orleans? Was just in general the card, and was Gargano Ciampa better than New Orleans? Was this one better than the one they had in New Orleans?
I don't know. That's a hard question. I think every one of their matches keeps getting better and better.
That's a fair assessment, I guess. It's a good way to tightrope away from.
It's a difficult question to answer.
Well, I'll give you an easy question then. What did you think of Velveteen Dream versus Ricochet?
I think that those two guys definitely show you that they are the future of NXT.
I agree, because I did see a little bit of the match, and it was the beginning of the match when I saw Velveteen Dream out dressed as Hulk Hogan, and them recreating Rock Hogan's opening to their WrestleMania 18 match. And it was extremely funny. And it actually, reminded me of when PWG had, I think it was ACH and somebody else, act like Austin and The Rock and do Austin and The Rock's, stunner, people's elbow, reverse, that stuff that Austin and Rock would always do as their finish. But either way, seeing Velveteen Dream dressed as Hulk Hogan was extremely entertaining.
Well, I guess I didn't remember this, but on Tough Enough, Hogan told Patrick Clark he wasn't gonna make it. So that was a nice hot shot at Hogan for not believing in him.
Yeah, what a stupid guy he is.
Yep.
Well, I mean, then again, stupid guy, but he won a major lawsuit, and now he's a millionaire again, so I can't really, I don't know, but with what the cause of the lawsuit was, I don't know how smart he is. Then again, look at his friends, Bubba the Love Sponge and, well, former friend, I'm assuming. But do you think that the tradition keeps going with TakeOver upstaging the main roster again, and that it's pretty well impossible for Money in the Bank to be better than TakeOver?
I hate to say it, but yeah. I just... Especially with TakeOver, I mean, they only have a handful of matches, and I think that's all you need sometimes, like Money in the Bank. The card's overstacked with matches. We've seen Jinder Mahal and Roman Reigns. Like, matches get kicked to the pre-show. Why even bother putting them on the main roster? Or why even bother putting them on the pay-per-view? I honestly am not looking that much forward to the pay-per-view tonight.
I'm not that disappointed I'll be working, but going into the first hour... Wait, no. When does the pay-per-view... Yeah, 8 o'clock. Yeah, so I'll be missing probably the first hour and a half of the pay-per-view. I'm probably not even going to watch it, because I don't remember the last time I actually saw anything... Like, I haven't watched any pay-per-view since WrestleMania, and I feel like WWE hasn't given me a reason to watch any pay-per-view. Because I haven't felt like
Same.
it. Yeah. I mean, do I still watch? I still watch wrestling.
Yes.
Not necessarily WWE, but I still watch wrestling. Because I turn on Raw, and all I have to say is Sami Zayn and Bobby Lashley were on the TV. I turned it off very soon after. That match between Zayn and Lashley should be a good match. That feud is exactly the reason why I'm not watching Money in the Bank.
Yep, exactly.
And then you have, like you said, Jinder and Roman. The best thing I think WWE could do is not have Roman Reigns win. Why? Because nobody will see it coming. The best thing that they can do is not have Roman Reigns main event with Jinder Mahal, because who the hell wants to see Roman Reigns and Jinder Mahal main event?
Roman Reigns fans, probably. But the majority of wrestling fans do not want to see that.
But if you want to get people to start cheering Roman Reigns and you don't want to give up on the idea of Roman Reigns being a top star, then just have him lose. You get heat on Jinder because Sunil Singh is at ringside. You can have Sunil Singh get involved in the match and then have Mahal hit him with the Colossus, and that is why it, number one, shouldn't be main event. It shouldn't be main event anyway, because AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura are fighting a last man standing match, and you have 2 Money in the Bank matches. One of the Money in the Bank matches should be main event, because it's a Money in the Bank pay-per-view. It's like main eventing the Royal Rumble with a WWE title match.
Yeah.
Even though that has happened, I think it was... The last one, I think, was 06 when Angle and Mark Henry fought. But that was because they wanted to set up Taker and Angle for next month. I know way too much. But that's the thing. I mean, if that's the last one I remember, that was 12 years ago. You know, that's how many times the Royal Rumble has main evented the Royal Rumble pay-per-view, and that's why Money in the Bank should be the same thing. Backlash is different because, I mean, Samoa Joe and Roman Reigns is a solid main event.
Yeah.
But why wasn't AJ Styles and Nakamura in the main event? Was it because of the finish? Is that really why you're going to say it was a main event? Then change the finish. I mean, it's not like you don't have another challenger for AJ Styles to fight for the world title, and if you don't, guess what? Nakamura can be world champion. Even if you don't think he can be, he can be. Even if it's just for a month where you have the title switch and then you have AJ win it back. But who wouldn't want to see AJ Styles and Samoa Joe for the WWE title, which would make you think you're in the Twilight Zone, because that's something nobody ever thought they'd see.
Yeah.
But, segueing to the lackluster pay-per-view it is, who do you think's going to win each of the Money in the Banks?
I could go really either way. I mean, the women's match, other than Lana, I think any one of them has a realistic chance of winning.
Mm-hmm.
But I could see it being Sasha.
Mm-hmm.
And for the men's match, I could see Joe.
Now, do you think that it's pretty clear that the men's briefcase goes to SmackDown and the women's briefcase goes to Raw?
I mean, I didn't think of it that way. I think one or the other, yeah. One's going to end up with one would end up with the other.
Well, of course. Of course, one brand has to end up with one, and one brand has to end up with the other. Well, as of, I think it was either yesterday or the day before that. I think it was the day before that. So, Thursday, I was told that the betting odds point to The Miz and Natalya winning each Money in the Bank briefcase. What do you think of that?
I mean, I'm not a huge fan of The Miz. He's super entertaining. I just think I don't know. I don't want to see Miz have another title run. I'm biased to Finn Balor because I'm a Balor fan, and he's been treated like crap since he got back from his injury.
Yeah,
and has never even gotten his opportunity to go back at the Universal title, so I would like to see him win, but I don't think he's going to.
Well, I think I may have a rumor that may change your mind of Miz winning. There's a rumor going around that Miz wins Money in the Bank, and then this sets up Daniel Bryan versus The Miz for a WWE title feud. Which would likely mean Bryan gets a WWE title run.
Wouldn't hate that.
And also, if I had to guess, it could point to WrestleMania 35 for the blow-off of this long-standing rivalry between The Miz and Daniel Bryan. Or if it was me, I'd say Miz keeps the briefcase for now, probably wins it sometime in the fall, and then that's when you start the feud with him and Bryan. Even having Bryan win Royal Rumble, because who wouldn't want to see Daniel Bryan win the Royal Rumble? But I would agree with you on the idea that I think there's better choices than The Miz, but if that's the way they're going, that it could lead to Daniel Bryan not only becoming WWE champion again, but actually facing The Miz and actually feuding with The Miz. I think that's the only worthwhile way that I see Miz becoming Money in the Bank winner.
Same.
Not saying he doesn't deserve another title reign because of how good and how on point he's been as a heel, and all he's done for the Intercontinental title in the last couple of years, I think he deserves something to be rewarded for that success. I think I'm on your side, though, that other people deserve it more, like a Finn Balor. Or hell, I would say Braun Strowman deserves it too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just kind of funny how WWE always seems to find we gotta put a super heavyweight in a ladder match. They did it with Kane how many times, and now Kane's out of the picture, so they gotta do it with Braun Strowman. But now, there's a little, Universal title, question. I know that there was never any doubt that Brock was not going to show up at Money in the Bank. But now that's, what, he hasn't been seen since Greatest Royal Rumble? So, he's going to be gone for the next month and a half still? At least? Or he'll be back sometime in late July to build up his feud for SummerSlam?
More than likely, yeah.
How does I mean, I understand Brock's likely gone after SummerSlam, Brock's not likely coming back, this, that, and the other thing. But how do you not make better use of him before he leaves? How do you not, tell him you're leaving after SummerSlam, give us either Backlash or Money in the Bank?
He might be the one refusing to show up. I don't know what his, we don't know what his contract is.
Well, I mean, if you're paying the dude $500,000 per appearance, I would say if I was him, I would show up anytime they asked me to.
Well, yeah, but he has to get up and fly out to wherever they are, and.
Oh wow, such a tough way to make $1 million because you're showing up 2 times.
Of course, we're gonna laugh at that, but.
Well, I mean, yeah, I know Brock has never been one to travel, but it's like, I feel like that could have been a better way to use Lashley to put him in a feud with Brock. Even losing, it would have elevated Lashley into the idea of, okay, he could be a credible main eventer because he can go hand to hand with Brock Lesnar. But it's also, I'm thinking that it might be pretty clear that the company's holding him off because they want him at SummerSlam and they want him to drop the title to their chosen person to have him drop the title to, which according to the Bleacher Report, it's Roman Reigns. The Bleacher Report reported that, according to sources, I don't know if it's a rumor, I'm assuming it is, because I don't think WWE would have it's set in stone 2 months ahead, or 3 months ahead, or whatever the heck I saw the Bleacher Report article. I think it was this month, so I'm going to say 2 months. That they would have Brock Lesnar's chosen opponent set in stone, or that they would be booking Roman Reigns so badly if they were going to bring him back at SummerSlam and have him fight Brock again. Because everyone is going to shit on the match. Just like WrestleMania, and that is actually why Brock Lesnar got mad, because people started shitting on the match.
I sure would hope it's not Roman Reigns for multiple reasons. The main reason being nobody wants to see Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar again.
Well, I said this after Greatest Royal Rumble, that if WWE is going to go the route of having Roman face Brock again before Brock leaves, then you have from the Greatest Royal Rumble till SummerSlam to get Roman over in a way where he looks like a credible person to face Brock again. If you can't, scrap the plans and go with somebody else. Why?
I think it's pretty obvious, but yeah.
Because Braun Strowman is still over. Because Braun Strowman can be a stable opponent for Brock Lesnar and be the person who runs Brock out of the WWE. Because I do think people are going to be booing Brock Lesnar, but I also think people will be booing Roman Reigns, so that's going to be a pretty bad main event for a show that's supposed to be going to a stadium next year.
Yeah, people don't like Brock Lesnar for multiple reasons, which are understandable, but people, again, don't want to see Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns for the 900th time at a pay-per-view.
Exactly. You know, and
it's
that...
not a smart decision for SummerSlam.
Exactly, you're right. I mean, I'm not going to complain because I have tickets to NXT TakeOver Brooklyn, so I'm not even going to watch SummerSlam. I'm going to the better show. But it's just the idea that, you know, SummerSlam is supposed to be the mid-year WrestleMania, sort of like New Japan has with Dominion in June. You know, and New Japan proved that with Kenny Omega ending Okada's record-setting 600-plus day reign as champion, which, by the way, just imagine if somebody held the title in WWE for 600 days, the fans would be going insane.
Yep.
I mean, then again, you keep the belt on Brock for a little bit longer, he'll hold but they proved why Dominion is a big show by having, number one, so many title changes, and number two, having a record-setting reign from Okada end on that day with Omega. I'm not saying that WWE needs to do, like something like that, like have a record-setting reign end on that day or something like that, but they need to do something or have something there that proves that SummerSlam is the second in standing to WrestleMania like it used to be.
Oh, you're 100% right, yeah. It can't just be another pay-per-view.
Yeah. You know, because you can have it where, we have SummerSlam access. We have, you know, it's a weekend event. It's a whole weekend event. You know, TakeOver and, you know, SummerSlam and then Raw, SmackDown, everything in Brooklyn. God, I hate that. But that just because you have it all in one place and it's like WrestleMania doesn't mean it is WrestleMania.
Exactly.
You know, and I mean, there are other more than capable opponents for Brock, and I think this goes back to one thing we talked about a few months ago when we talked about the Greatest Royal Rumble, which I think we talked about on your channel, actually. What's the point of the Battle Royal if the winner got nothing? You know? I mean, look at the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Yes, last year, your favorite wrestler and mine, Mojo Rawley, got nothing. But this year, Matt Hardy got a better push. Because he got into the tag team division with Bray Wyatt. So he got a better standing than he did prior to the Battle Royal.
I even forgot for a second who won the Greatest Royal Rumble.
I do believe it was Braun Strowman.
It was Braun Strowman, but you see, it was all this hype. It's been 2 months since then. I couldn't even tell you off the top of my head who had won because it was that.
Let's just put it out there. We mean no offense to the people of Saudi Arabia, but
no.
I mean, we understand it was a big event, you know, a big show, you know, just like the one that's going to be in Australia in October, you know, 100,000 seat arena, but it was only a big deal because of the amount of people that were there, because an event of that stature never happens.
Exactly.
It was just like Beast in the East a few years ago with, over in Japan. That's all it should have been. Should have just been a network special over in Saudi Arabia, or it should have been just a show just for the people of Saudi Arabia, because outside of the WWE, the Raw Tag Team titles, nothing happened. Nothing major happened. You know, it was like Backlash. It was like Backlash used to be after WrestleMania, or Extreme Rules, or not Extreme Rules, Payback. You know, basically the post WrestleMania pay-per-view. Let's get all the WrestleMania matches that happened on WrestleMania, give them a rematch, and then, you know, unless you're Shinsuke Nakamura and AJ Styles, end the feud. Because if you want to talk about a feud that needs to end, it's Shinsuke and AJ.
I'm hoping that tonight is the night for that.
I heard a rumor that they're going to do it again in Extreme Rules, but let's hope you're right.
And that's no offense to Shinsuke or AJ. I mean, their group, they both always put on phenomenal matches, but it's the same thing over and over and over again. Don't care anymore.
How many times do you think there's going to be a groin shot in their match tonight?
Probably every, 4 minutes.
I think it's good. In that case, I think it's good that AJ Styles had all the kids that he wants, because even though, you know, I know, you really think he's going to hit? No, it's a joke. Well, you can't really, talk about SummerSlam. I mean, you can't really talk about the main roster without talking about Raw's Constable. The new Constable, Mr. Corbin. And I can't talk to you without talking about your favorite wrestler.
Awesome.
What do you think about Baron Corbin's new gimmick?
If it's an attempt to get him over, I just think people don't care about him at this point. Anything they could do or say with him is going to make anything different.
Wow, you sound like me with Mike Graham. And what did I say about Mike Graham? I said that it should be an indication on how much faith his father had in him that his father left his company to Hiro Matsuda and not him. So, yeah, I mean, my Mike Graham is your Baron Corbin. Yep. But I also heard Baron Corbin's bald now.
Yeah, he is.
Maybe Hulk Hogan will take Baron Corbin's advice and just shave that head. Then again, if Hulk Hogan shaved his head, he'd probably sue his barber. The other thing I wanted to... Oh, wait. Actually, there is something else. The other thing is, it's a little interesting to think about because from what I've heard, there's a little bit of tension with WWE and Madison Square Garden. Have you heard anything about this?
I have not.
Well, MSG is quite angry with WWE for holding WrestleMania in the tri-state area next year and not giving them anything. And giving Barclays Center everything. Like, WWE, Madison Square Garden does not have takeover, they do not have access, they do not have anything from WWE for the WrestleMania festivities.
I can understand, I mean, obviously the relationship between WWE and MSG goes back a long way, but it was probably a business decision. It was probably,
Well,
it's all about money, and I'm sure that it was just cheaper.
Well, yeah, because it's always been more expensive to run the Garden.
Yeah.
Because of, the State Athletic Commission. I know that's how it used to be, licensing and shit like that. And production is apparently the reason, but now, for the first time that I can remember, WWE does not have exclusive rights with the Garden. Because in September, AAA will be in the Garden, running shows in New York for the first time.
I mean, we've discussed this before, where there's a lot more competition now with WWE, and I think that's just how the world is now. I mean, it's a business. It's a dog-eat-dog world. You gotta...
Do you think it was a bad decision for AAA to... do you think it's a bad decision to AAA to come, or do you think if they bring Lucha Underground's talent with them, that it would be a good decision?
Yeah, I think if they do that,
because
it could work well for them.
I know it was like a hairy situation a few years ago with them, with that thing, but I'm still pretty sure Lucha Underground and AAA are some way related to each other. But I just don't know the type of crowd that AAA will attract if they don't have some sort of already known talent or some attachment to. Because if CMLL was the one who came up, and if CMLL was the one who attached to the Garden, I know that they would have backup because of the working agreement they have with New Japan and Ring of Honor. Because they're the third company in that working agreement, with Japan having the connection with Mexico. But AAA, the only thing I know about them is Lucha Underground and instability. But they're not the only ones looking at the Garden, because apparently All In 2 has its sights set on the Garden, and Ring of Honor has its sights set on the Garden.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, times have changed. There's a lot more competition for WWE now, and for All In to be in there, that would be huge for them to have Madison Square Garden.
Well, we can, go in more detail. Wait, that's not what I was going to say. What I was going to say was, how much of a slap in the face do you think it would be to the WWE if Ring of Honor ran their WrestleMania weekend shows in the Garden?
Oh, I mean, that would be something.
Because I heard a rumor that is what Ring of Honor is looking at, that they're looking at the Garden for WrestleMania weekend. But I also know Ring of Honor, and I know that they don't look to the same day as a major WWE event. If anything, they would look to either that Friday or that Saturday, but also they would likely do it before TakeOver, not during TakeOver, because I know that Ring of Honor would not want people to have to choose, because I think that if people had to choose, they would still choose WWE. Even if it's TakeOver. But if you're talking about the Hall of Fame, that's, it depends on who's in the class. But, because, I think that with if Ring of Honor did that and Impact Wrestling, finally looking at themselves as an independent company rather than a second in command to the WWE. By independent company, I mean that they're actually working with other independent companies. Like before, they thought they were better than the independent companies. Now they're co-promoting with independent companies. Now they're running, conventions. Now they're doing things that independent companies do to get more attention on the product, and basically do exactly what I was saying that Dixie Carter should have done from the start to get more interest and attention on her product. But I think that they're Don Callis and Scott D'Amore are doing it, or, Anthem are doing it to get more of a positive outlook for, or positive image for, Impact Wrestling. Where they're more known for their wrestling and less known for their backstage shit. Would you agree?
Yeah, TNA, whatever we're calling it now, has definitely, I think, progressed the past couple of years.
Yeah, and I think that Anthem purchasing the company and Don Callis and Scott D'Amore taking over the company has done nothing but good things for the company, which also speaks to how smart Chris Jericho is, because he's the one who got Don Callis the job. Speaking of Chris Jericho, I actually recently heard that Impact Wrestling will be on the Jericho Cruise. Whenever the hell that Jericho Cruise is actually going to happen, I'm not sure. But Impact Wrestling adds to the extreme assortment of random people and random companies and wrestlers that are going to be on the Jericho cruise ship.
Expect nothing less from Chris Jericho.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I can agree with that. I mean, I will have to say that cruise is going to be, like, wow. Like, it's going to be insane. Just having wrestling on a cruise ship is in general insane, but, just the amount of, the Young Bucks, Impact Wrestling, I'm not up to date on who's going to the cruise, but going on the cruise, but, that's a topic for another video. Now, sliding to the last topic of conversation, recently I think I was doing an article on the site or whatever I was doing, but I noticed that I stumbled upon some matches where a female was in the ring with a guy, and I was like, that would be an interesting topic for a video. So I wanted to get your thoughts on the intergender matches that happen on the independents that, Lufisto usually competes in, or has often competed in. Kimberly in Chikara, she did it a lot. I know because she actually won the world title in Chikara, which points to, well, the obvious of her competing with men, because, she's not going to fight a woman for the world title. But, I wanted to get your thoughts on, that type of match, female versus male.
I've always been a huge, wanting to see it, a huge fan of that. I grew up in the Attitude Era, so I grew up with China. And I get mad that you can't have intergender matches anymore in the WWE 2K games. So I am all for it. Look at Candice LeRae, one of the best wrestlers in the world. Really, known for her intergender matches.
True.
I would love to see WWE integrate that back into their. We've had mixed tag matches, but I would love to see them integrate that back into their programming, but I don't see them doing it, so I'm all for the indies for these women to show their talent.
Now, I agree with you to a point, because I think, I think if they're capable to do it, like Chyna or Candice, that they should be able to do it. And I can only speak to those two because those are the only two that I've actually seen compete in a intergender type match. But I don't know. It's just like, for me, it's just weird seeing, even seeing Candice, work her butt off with the Bucks and Joey Ryan in a tag team match. It's still weird to me seeing that. You know what I mean?
No, I can totally see where you're coming from. Think we have two different mindsets too. Like, I think I'm coming as a female. Like, girl power is totally awesome. I would love to see women do whatever they can do. But I can also see wrestling fans, it's like traditional wrestling fans just wanting to see men versus men, women versus women.
Mm-hmm.
Or like you said, I don't want to pick on Lana, but like, Lana is by no means Candice LeRae. I would never want to see her in a match with a guy.
Yeah.
But somebody like Charlotte could easily handle their own in a gender match.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Just imagine Charlotte just imagine Charlotte fighting Ricochet.
That would be a great match.
I agree. I think it would be too. But, I guess, it speaks to you also knowing, you also understanding the criticism of that type of match. I don't think you could be surprised to know that I do believe it was Jim Cornette who was heavily criticizing the match, that type of match, because of, like you said, wrestling traditionalists want to see men versus men, or think men versus men is the only way to go, and women versus women is the only way to go. Good thing Jim Cornette's not Greg Valentine, but, sorry, I don't know why I always hit outdated references every time we have to, record.
Yeah, I don't think you're never going to change everybody's mind. And I'm not saying anybody's wrong or right. They have their opinions. If they don't believe women fight men, that's their opinion. Mm-hmm. I just think we've come to a long game, and you have people like Chyna and Candice, these other women who are more than capable. Becky Lynch, she's the last kicker. I can totally see her, I can't think of anybody off the top of my head, but I can see her, and, she can hold her own.
Oh, no, I agree with you. I think
these women are a completely different breed than we're all used to.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think there's a number of women in the division that could hold their own in intergender matches. Hell, Tamina is terrible when it comes to wrestling, but I think if she's in the ring with a man, she can hold her own.
Yeah.
And just look at Awesome Kong. She did it in the Royal Rumble. Not for that long, but she did it in the Royal Rumble, as did Beth Phoenix.
Yep.
But I guess, I understand why WWE doesn't want to do that type of thing. But even a mixed tag team match wouldn't be the worst thing.
Yeah, we rarely even see those anymore.
Even though in a mixed tag team match, it is against the rules of the match for the man to hit the man. For the man to hit the woman and the woman to hit the man. It would be funny if it was vice versa. If it was, man, and you had to fight the woman. But yeah, like you said, you never see that anymore. Even though you have like Zelina Vega and Andrade Cien Almas, and Gargano and Candice, and Rusev and Lana, if they actually put Rusev back with Lana. You have the options, or even you have the women's division. You could have Candice in the women's division even though I think Candice will probably stay down there when Gargano comes up, even though I think, Candice and Gargano should come up together, because even, even if Candice isn't ready for the main roster, you can't see it, but I'm doing air quotes. But is she really not ready? Or is it that you just want to keep her down so the women's division down there has depth?
Yeah. I'd like to see somebody argue that Candice LeRae is not ready for the main roster.
But that then opens the door for Gargano and Candice to, stay together, and that opens the mixed tag team door for Gargano and Candice to feud with other people, and but Johnny and Zelina Vega are the only pair like that. You have a full women's division. Anybody from the women's division can find a guy, or it could be where the woman is feuding with Candice and the man is feuding with Gargano, and the two women and then the two men, the two people come together, and then you get a mixed tag team match. Why? Because it's unfamiliar. That's the one thing that stuck out for me with the Gargano and Ciampa feud. It's that every week it's something different with the build to their match at NXT Chicago. It's not like every other feud where they have this guy's going to come out and talk this week, and this guy's going to do this, and that guy's going to do that. It's different every single week. It just has a different feel, and Candice LeRae has added so much to that feud that it just, unlike any other feud going on in WWE right now.
Oh, I totally agree.
Which I also think goes back to your point, not only that they're entertaining and they have extreme chemistry in the ring, but why people still want to see them fight again in NXT TakeOver Brooklyn. Because they have such a special feud that people aren't ready for it to end. Now, before we wrap up, I'm going to do something a little different, and that is, I want you, outside of Gargano and Ciampa, to predict one match that's going to be on NXT TakeOver Brooklyn, and to do the same for SummerSlam. You could have two matches for SummerSlam and one for TakeOver, because TakeOver is usually a smaller card. So two matches for SummerSlam, predict, and one match for TakeOver.
SummerSlam, I could see, obviously we're getting in a Brock Lesnar match. I could see Brock Lesnar and Braun Strowman at SummerSlam this year.
Mm-hmm.
I can also see, again, based on what you were going on before, if Natty wins the Money in the Bank, I could see Ronda winning the title and Ronda and Natty at SummerSlam. God, TakeOver. I mean, I think it's obvious we're probably going to see another Gargano Ciampa match.
Yeah.
That's a hard one. I think we're going to see another Shayna Baszler, Nikki Cross match at TakeOver.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a safe bet. I think maybe it might be a triple threat or a fatal four-way, because it is a big, they try and build it up as a big show. Especially with the fact that this is the last TakeOver in Brooklyn, since they are moving the event next year due to the fact that they are going to be in the tri-state area for WrestleMania and do not want to come back a few months later for another major event. So this is the last year, even though I thought it was going to be the last year anyway, because how many years in a row can you do the same event at the same place? But yeah, this year is the last year in Brooklyn for SummerSlam and TakeOver. For me, I think I agree with you that TakeOver is tougher to predict. I would agree that Natty and Ronda will likely fight at SummerSlam for the title. And also Brock, but I'm going to go the same route as you, and even though I would prefer to see Brock against Braun Strowman, I'm unfortunately thinking that it's going to be Brock and Roman Reigns. Because if WWE has taught you one thing, is that you don't get to be optimistic about everything that the company does.
Oh, yeah, you have a point.
Unfortunately, I think Roman Reigns is going to be the one that faces Brock, even though I think if it was me booking and, people, oh, you can't book, blah, 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 blah. For once, this isn't booking like they do on podcasts. This is booking ahead, and that is, if it was me, Jinder Mahal versus Roman Reigns should blow off at SummerSlam. It shouldn't be a few-week feud where Roman gets the win over Jinder at Money in the Bank. It should be where it goes all the way to SummerSlam, because you have the pay-per-view this month, and then you have, I'm assuming, Extreme Rules next month, and then SummerSlam in August. Nobody can sit here and tell me that it is impossible to get Jinder Mahal Roman Reigns to SummerSlam.
I can definitely see that happening.
You could have Jinder win tonight, lose in Extreme Rules, but don't put him over clean. Don't put Roman over clean. Save the clean finish for SummerSlam. This way you spend the 3 months repairing Roman Reigns, so whoever does beat Brock can have Roman as a fresh challenger. And even though people may say, oh, we don't want to see Roman as a challenger. Yeah, but if Roman just spent the last 3 months dispatching the slimy, cocky, hard to handle Jinder Mahal, it looks better than just having him beat Jinder at Money in the Bank.
Yep.
Now as far as optimistic, I would hope to maybe see AJ Styles against Samoa Joe at SummerSlam, or or Samoa Joe in some way included in the WWE title match at SummerSlam.
I would love to see that too, but again, you never know with WWE.
Yeah. As far as TakeOver, I think I'm going to go random, and I'm going to go with the North American title, because, Adam Cole actually has to defend the title sometimes. And that is that I think that if it was me, this Velveteen Dream Ricochet feud should lead to, even though I think Ricochet is going to fight Velveteen Dream again or he could fight him again at TakeOver Brooklyn, I would rather see Ricochet against Adam Cole for the North American title.
Yeah, I would definitely like that too. You're right. There's probably got to be a North American title match at TakeOver, so I could see that happening.
Yeah. But now the question to something you brought up was Natty versus Ronda. Do you think Ronda wins tonight?
I think it could go either way. I don't want to see her win, but...
Do you think she has to win?
No. I think people love her regardless.
I agree, but I also think that they gotta be careful with the finish. Otherwise, it could hurt her. Because, if you had her get her first loss from a Sasha Banks or a Charlotte or somebody like that, then I think, or even Alexa Bliss, to be fair, then I think, Alexa cheated to get the win, or whatever, or Sasha cheated to get the win. I mean, number one, I think a Sasha Banks Ronda Rousey feud would be amazing, with Sasha as the heel, obviously. But once again, it's WWE. But I'm just a little iffy. Number one, on the booking that they've done with Nia since she won the title. And the fact that if they actually did have Ronda lose clean to Nia, that would basically kill Ronda's momentum. Because I don't think Nia has been booked as strong as she probably should have been booked. And I think that it hurts the match because you're building it up as such a big deal. But Nia's not a big deal.
Oh, I 100% agree. It's probably going to be not a cheap finish, but I don't think this is the last time you'll see Nia Jax and Ronda Rousey.
I mean, I would hope it's a cheap finish, but because I don't know, you gotta spare both of them, but I don't know how you do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially thinking that they may do a cheap finish in AJ Styles Shinsuke Nakamura again to get another month out of the feud, even though nobody wants to see it for another month. The only way I'd be happy with Shinsuke and AJ going another month is if Shinsuke wins tonight.
Oh yeah, me too. Because then obviously AJ will get his rematch.
Exactly. The only problem with that is then you don't get to see AJ, drop the title to Joe at SummerSlam or what have you. You want AJ then to have another long-ish run, but, AJ won the title back in November. So he's had a pretty solid run so far with the title.
Yeah.
But he's also feuded with Shinsuke Nakamura since WrestleMania? Or on and off since WrestleMania?
Yep.
Not WrestleMania, Royal Rumble. They've been attached at the hip since basically Royal Rumble. Or Fastlane at least. Or whatever SmackDown's pay-per-view was in February. But I guess the best way to put it aside is there is interest there, but not enough to watch it. Because SummerSlam's coming up, and SummerSlam's a big show. SummerSlam, you wonder what's going to happen after, you wonder how it's still a pay-per-view, I guess is what I'm saying. It's still a pay-per-view, and you wonder what it's going to be like after the show. But you don't have the reason to watch it. You have the wonder to think about, look at the results and see what happened, or watch Raw tomorrow and see what happened, or watch SmackDown on Tuesday. But, especially with SummerSlam, I'll just point that out, that SummerSlam's a 4-hour pay-per-view. SummerSlam's going to be 4 hours. Which, number one, is the main reason why I'm not going. Because I'm not going to sit there for a 4-hour pay-per-view. I barely would want to sit there for a 4-hour WrestleMania. If you, but that's the thing, you're still looking at how the card's going to take shape as we head closer to SummerSlam. That's why, one of the reasons why it's, even though it's somewhat easy, even though SummerSlam might be easy to predict following this show, it still gives stuff to talk about, I guess. Yeah. So, with that being said, let us know down in the comment section below if you're going to be watching tonight, and if not, why, and if so, why. Because feedback is always welcomed and appreciated, but if you don't want to leave a comment, you can always leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more content just like this that you can only find right here at Wrestling Express. But before you go, I want to thank Sam for coming back on with me and discussing, well, current events, I guess you could say.
Thank you for having me.
Fun as always. But also, before you go, the viewer, don't forget to ding-dong that notification bell to always know when a new video is up on the channel. Till next time.